Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm continuing my list of 100 favorite albums. And today I'm doing number 81 on my list, which is John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band. I don't know how to say that. I don't know, maybe it's just called Plastic Ono Band, but I usually see it John Lennon / Plastic Ono Band. Of course, the artist is John Lennon. It came out in 1970. It's his first studio album. Of course, the first one he did after the Beatles broke up around the same time. Let It Be is coming out. And pretty much all four Beatles, at least I know George and Paul, were also coming out with albums the same year. So, I mean, it's a pretty stacked year when you got the Beatles' last album coming out, Let It Be, which they broke up at this point. So it's almost this album coming out after they break up. So obviously that was a huge album to come out. And then, like I said, John and Paul and George are all coming out with their own albums. Paul McCartney coming out with McCartney, George Harrison coming out with All Things Must Pass, and then John's coming out with this one. Plastic Ono Band, of course, I guess was Yoko Ono's band. They call it the Plastic Ono Band. But really, to me, it's just a John Lennon album. It has 11 songs on it, all written by John Lennon. I would say this is an album that really doesn't have any hit singles on it. It's not really a singles an album with a bunch of singles on it or songs that I don't know that were played that much on the radio or that I hear much on the radio. Yeah, so it's not really a hits. It doesn't really have any hits on it. It's just like almost feels like a bunch of songs that maybe John Lennon was writing when he's with the Beatles, maybe, and so he put this album together. It almost feels rushed to me somewhat because some of these songs are kind of short and they feel like they kind of end suddenly. I don't know. I feel like I'm listening to a song. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. I like this, and then it's over before I know it, and I think, oh, it seems like there could have been more to the song. So I don't know. That's my feeling. I might be totally wrong, but it just feels like there could have been more. Like he was just kind of putting these together. It wasn't as produced as his later work will be. Not a lot of instruments added in. It's mostly just John and maybe a couple other band members, but not a lot of stuff going on here. And it just seems like a underproduced album to me. Mostly, I think the one I see the most is maybe Mother is pretty well known. Maybe the most well-known song coming off of this album. If you watch anything with John Lennon after the Beatles, you'll see footage of him singing the song in concert. Very emotionally raw performance that he does. Working Class Hero is a song I've heard before. I guess I don't know if it was big at all, but I don't know. It's a song that I've kind of aware of, that I've heard before. I've listened to this album. That's pretty much it. God, I've heard of, kind of has some controversial things said in that song and all that. But yeah, of course, it was considered a huge album now, I think, looking back. Very important album. Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums ranked this in 2012 number 23, so they ranked it a top 25 album all time. That's pretty huge. At the time, it went number 6 in the U.S., number 8 in the U.K., and number 1 in Canada. So did very well in Canada, evidently, and went number 1. And it was certified U.S. gold in the U.S. Is what I've found on this. Yeah, it's a very emotional album. It feels like John's going through a lot of stuff. As you know, after the Beatles, him and Yoko Ono, they went through this experimental therapy called scream therapy, where I guess you go into a room and you do a lot of screaming, get a lot of your anger out, a lot of your emotions out. I guess it's supposed to help you deal with those emotions, deal with your issues. John had a lot of issues going on. Abandoned by his father when he was young, basically abandoned by his mother too, and was raised by his Aunt Mimi as a kid. Then he kind of began a relationship with his mother as a teenager, and then his mother was tragically killed in a car accident, ran over by a car and died. Very sad and tragic for John. Obviously, maybe the most saddest thing that's happened in his life, and it's really, negatively impacted his life. Um, Also, his best friend Stu Sutcliffe would also die kind of mysteriously of some brain issues later on in his 20s, and so that was huge also. So he's had a lot of tragic death in his family and abandonment. So he's got a lot of these feelings and emotions of that, I think. Obviously, if you read anything or seen anything about John Lennon, had a lot of anger issues. Was a bit of a jerk at times. Mistreated women. Mistreated his friends. Uh, Liked to torture, basically verbally torture everybody around him at times. Um, he obviously was a drug addict, an alcoholic, all these things, So definitely had this huge negative impact in his life, and at this time, and will be for a while. Of course, and then he has his own tragic death, obviously, in 1980. Um, but so this seems like an album that he's really trying to get some of these emotions out. I feel like, something like "Mother" is, a very emotional song about, "Mother, you had me, but I never had you," and then the core, kind of the ending is, uh, was it "Daddy come home, Mother don't go," or "Daddy don't go, Mother come home," something like that. So it's kind of really touching on his abandonments with his mother and father, and all that. And it's very emotionally raw the way he really sings out those songs. You really feel it in the voice. Um, but then also in the song "God," like I said, he talks about how he doesn't, believe in all these things. Like he doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in Buddha. Uh, he doesn't believe in Elvis, doesn't believe in the Beatles. He only believes in me. I think it's the ending of that song basically is "I only believe in me." So he takes up all these different things that he doesn't believe in, and kind of getting out there. How it's hard to trust anybody, of course, because he's had so many issues like that. The very last song is called "My Mummy's Dead." For goodness sakes, how could you get any more? You know, it's not very subtle, very emotional. Subject matter about his mom being dead. But even a song like "Isolation" on this, being isolated. So it's very kind of a dark album in a way, in those senses. Um, Working Class Heroes, even a little bit dark, song about I don't know, about life being hard and all that, and being a working class person. So yeah, uh, this song, I mean, this album is, I said, very popular. Probably higher on other people's lists that are big John Lennon fans or Beatles fans, and I'm a big Beatles fan, and I'm a fan of John Lennon also. But I guess I got this. It's definitely got some great, I think, some good hidden gems on this album. Uh, I think "Hold On," "Isolation," "Love." Um, those songs are very like songs I really didn't know that I listened to, and like they're very catchy, very nice, very good melodies in them. Like I said, I think they could have been a little bit longer, maybe, or more fleshed out songs. But yeah, it's got a lot of solid songs on this album, though no really huge songs. There's no song on here that I listen to quite a lot. It doesn't have that kind of replayability in that sense. Though I still, yeah, I really enjoy this album. It's just not, yeah, as playable as some of the other albums higher on my list, I guess, is a reason why it's so low on my list. But still, it's at number 81. The only single that I can see that came out of this is "Mother." Like I said, it's probably most well known, and it just charted number 43 in the U.S. So, like I said, it wasn't a really big singles album, not a big hit album. And the only trivia I have for this album is just that it's produced by John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and Phil Spector. So Phil Spector had a bit in this, but it doesn't feel like a Phil Spector album. Like I know the next album, Imagine, is going to be produced by Phil Spector, and that's going to feel more like Phil Spector. Of course, Phil Spector also did "Let It Be," which came out this year. He did the last Beatles album basically. So I know Phil Spector's he's kind of coming bigger in music, and then John Lennon, I must really like Phil Spector because he seems to be using him quite a bit here. Anyway, so I'll say about the album. Go to my top 3 favorite songs. Number 3 is "Isolation." It's, like I said, probably not a really well-known song, but very, I don't know, where he says "isolation." I mean, it's very catchy the way he says the word in the chorus, and just, yeah, really, like I said, like most of the songs, the album is very stripped down, but I love John Lennon's vocals, and just, yeah, nice melody song, nice soft song. Number 2 is "Love," and it's another song that's not well known, but it's just a really pretty melody, and it's a piano song. I'm assuming John Lennon's playing piano maybe on this. Kind of reminds me of maybe kind of prelude to Imagine, which is going to be the huge song on the next album, coming out the next year, which is the album Imagine. But it kind of reminds me of the song Imagine a little bit, the way the piano is. Very pretty piano on the song. And yeah, I just really like John Lennon's vocals on here. The number one for me is Working Class Hero. Again, it's like the song, it's mostly just John Lennon's voice with a acoustic guitar. Very stripped down song. Really highlights John's vocals, I think, better than any song on this album, maybe except for Mother. Mother does a really good job too, which is just him and the piano. So a lot of this is just him and the piano, him and the guitar, and really his vocals really carry this whole album, I think. And I think John Lennon has great vocals, great rock vocals for sure, but even on the softer songs, he does such a good job. And Working Class Hero, yeah, it's one of my favorite, just the way he just spouts out these lines to an acoustic guitar. Just, yeah, really great. Anyways, that's my number one, Working Class Hero. So feel free to comment, tell me what you think about this album. If you like this album, what's your favorite song on here, and all that. So thank you for subscribing and liking and watching my video. I appreciate you all.